where he has prepared a report to assist financial regulators to understand how best to approach digital asset regulatory frameworks. As Barbados' first ambassador to the UAE, Gabriel is focused on launching technology diplomacy, the future of diplomacy as he sees it, to create technological bridges between nations, bringing Barbados and the UAE hand in hand now and into the future. Gabriel has given his time pro bono to government leaders, ministers, and department heads around the world as they commence their journey to understand the impact of digital assets on their future economies. Gabriel has founded and spearheaded many successful businesses. In 2013, he founded BIT in Barbados. Its current flagship project is Eastern Caribbean Central Bank Digital National Digital Currency. In 2016, during his tenure as CEO, BIT raised $16 million from a US public company. BIT is also internationally recognized for its application of M-Money, which has been championed by Barbados' Prime Minister, Mia Motley, and has seen widespread adoption across tens of thousands of customers and merchants. In 2018, Gabriel co-founded Digital Asset Currency Management, DACM, along with a former executive of JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs. DACM is geared towards constructing and actively managing funds, high-growth digital assets that offer sophisticated and institutional investors what is believed to be the most optimal exposure to the rapidly growing technology. Through his numerous activities, Gabriel continues to pursue his passion for a One Caribbean, which emphasizes regional connectivity and collaboration with strong innovation-focused nations in the Caribbean. With that said, guys, please help me welcome Ambassador Gabriel Abed.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome, Ambassador Gabriel Abed. You have done extensive work and you truly are such a great representation for us young people, someone that we can look up to continue the legacy in the Caribbean and to the whole world. So to get right into this, the first question that we have for you, starting from the basics, for those who don't know, what exactly is cryptocurrency and blockchain technology?
Okay. Blockchain technology is the use of consensus-driven algorithms and security mechanisms to provide an immutable ledger system. Simply put, it's a database that everyone controls and that no one single person can destroy. And it requires majority of users that are participating in the system to make any changes to it. This is fundamentally different than centralized systems like Facebook and Amazon and Google. And the reason it's fundamentally different is because that component of decentralization provides an avenue of trust in the form of mathematics, where we don't need to look at a centralized or a single entity towards having that point of truth. And in summary, it's a database that everyone's in control of and that everyone can participate in an inclusive manner. In layman terms, it's a mechanism for us to build the next generation of data tools.
Okay, thank you so much. That sounds really promising. Over to you, Sebastian.
Thank you very much. Mr. Abed,
before you ask your next question, Sebastian, this technology is now going on 11 years old. For us to be asking such basic questions, such as what is blockchain and what's cryptocurrency, at this state is almost as, it's almost like asking what is the internet. And what I'm trying to say there is that everyone on this call should know what blockchain and cryptocurrencies are. And I'm advising you young students to do your homework, to do your research. This is a very disruptive technology, and it's been around for a few minutes. And I would like you guys to really pay close attention to that statement. Over to you, Sebastian.
Thank you very much, Mr. Abed. And, just to follow up from the first question that we had asked, because you're speaking about, the data tools, and we just really wanted to get an idea of what platforms do investors use to invest in cryptocurrency, because in this club, we would have had, beginner investors looking to actually delve into this new currency that is out there. So what are the different cryptocurrencies available on the market right now?
Okay. First off, let me start with the disclosures. I'm not an investment advisor. Do your own homework, do your own research. Do not invest anything you can't afford to lose. These are very important fundamentals. With that being said, there's several platforms available to us within the Caribbean. Some of my favorites are Coinbase.com, Kraken with a K, Kraken.com. Binance is also one of the more popular ones. That's finance, but with a B, Binance. And then those are centralized platforms, meaning that some single person's in control of those environments. If you wanted to use decentralized platforms, there's Uniswap, UNISwap. That's another option. But to be quite honest with you, there's hundreds of platforms out there around the world that users can begin using. The Caribbean has some platforms that are about to go live. Carry Trade is one of those platforms that should be coming out to the market shortly for the Caribbean populace. In terms of what cryptocurrencies I would buy, I would not dare try to give you that answer right now. And the reason for that is it wouldn't be fair to you. Because it would just be some random guy giving his opinion about a technology that you should know about. And therefore, you should go and research each technology, read their white papers. I would advise the student body on this call to go and read Satoshi Nakamoto's Bitcoin paper, the original white paper that kicked this whole industry off, a peer-to-peer cash electronic system. That's perhaps one of the most important documents of our generation from a position of technology. But if I was forced to answer about a cryptocurrency, I would tell everyone in this call, look at Bitcoin and look at it strongly. I mean, there's other great cryptocurrencies out there that do various things, like Ethereum, there's Cardano, but I would always default back to Bitcoin. I'm a massive believer in that technology. It's the strongest and most powerful decentralized network in the world. It is the leading cryptocurrency. It has some of the best developers in the world behind it. And I would strongly advise everyone to pay attention to that first and foremost, and read Satoshi Nakamoto's white paper. And then that starts your journey. Next question, please, team.
Handing over to Lindsay.
Okay, thank you so much. So as you mentioned, there are a wide range of cryptocurrencies, right? So
thousands and thousands and thousands of cryptocurrencies. So many that it would be impossible to list them all on this call. And also so many that it also opens the opportunity for the Caribbean nationals to start looking at developing their own.
Okay, awesome. So a lot of people are reluctant to get into cryptocurrency because it's too risky. So can you edify us on what are the risks involved in cryptocurrency, and are there different forms for different risk appetites, such as a conservative risk appetite versus a more aggressive one?
I would tell those who are saying cryptocurrencies are risky to ask them what asset classes they hold. Because the last time I checked, fiat currency, such as the Barbados, Jamaican, or US dollar, is losing its spending power every single day. And these inflationary-based asset classes are inferior in comparison to things like Bitcoin. And forgive me for saying that out loud, but it would be disingenuous of me to not speak the truth, or at least speak the opinion of that I believe after being someone in this field for more than a decade. And in terms of volatility that is often brought up about this subject, I would advise the audience to zoom out. If you're looking at the volatility over 2 weeks, 2 months, or maybe even a year, it looks pretty volatile. But zoom out past a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and you would start to see an asset class that has been performing exceptionally well, because in comparison to the traditional offerings on the market, this is a system that is deflationary. It's a system that is global in nature, and it's traded 24/7. But the inherent risks that come with such a system are cybersecurity. Of course, when you're dealing with digital money or anything digital, really, the security is as good as your protection against it. So if you're not protecting your keys, as an example, you're exposing them to some third party, such as a hacker or an intrusive attack to steal your keys. So that's one issue. The other one is these platforms that you're buying these assets off of, such as Binance, Kraken, Coinbase. They're not your keys until you're in control. They're not your Bitcoin or your crypto until you're in full control of them. I would advise everyone on this call to look into paper wallets and to look into the difference between offline, taking your coins offline versus them being online. It's a very important subject that you should research. Other key areas are there's some new cryptocurrencies that might come out and you do not know the founders or the developers behind it. And there's a good chance you might get the rug pulled from underneath your feet, meaning they might have added a line of code to the system that gives them a backdoor to be able to pull out the value from underneath your feet. Fortunately, things like Bitcoin have been battle tested. They've been around for over a decade. Billions of dollars have gone into the environment, and we have yet to see such an intrusion take place. So that's why I strongly recommend Bitcoin as the first asset class you look at. From a security perspective of the underlying asset, it's fairly solid and sound. Again, I'm not giving you investment advice. I'm just speaking about my opinion. Other risks that you need to be cautious of are, of course, not forgetting your passwords and your seed phrases. You will soon learn what a seed, S-E-E-D phrase is. Once you start diving into this field, protecting that is very critical and crucial in order to protect your cryptocurrencies. The volatility that I spoke of, you might be investing in something like Bitcoin now, where the price is, I think it's at $50-something thousand, but tomorrow it could be $30,000. Remember, just like any other asset class, these things move up and down in value. And the best solution for that type of event is what's called dollar cost averaging, or DCA. Dollar cost averaging is where you buy a little bit of this asset every single month and you religiously repeat it. So I would advise everybody to not go and put all of their life savings into these cryptocurrencies. That's irresponsible. But what I would also advise you to do is put a little dollar, a few dollars every single month in an investment scheme and DCA your way into this field. So dollar cost averaging is a great way to buy when the market is high, when the market's low, when the market's average. You don't care. You're buying religiously every single month.
Okay, thank you so much. That's great advice. Back to you, Sebastian.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Abed, I see where you would have had experience working with the World Economic Forum in a, regulatory role as it regards to cryptocurrency. And, seeing that cryptocurrency is not necessarily regulated by a monetary authority of sorts, what legislative framework is required for countries to adopt cryptocurrency as legal tender? Because I know, especially in Jamaica, that is an issue that we're facing right now.
Couple parts of that. The first part is, you shouldn't regulate Bitcoin. That's just silly. Trying to regulate a decentralized asset class such as Bitcoin, it's not wise for a regulator to do for several reasons. Number one, they could never enforce the regulation. It would be mathematically improbable for a regulator to attempt to do so, which is often why you see regulators around the world not regulating Bitcoin. They should regulate the activity happening around it, how it's being bought, how it's being sold, who is buying it, who is selling it. And those such activities are great areas for consideration. In terms of making one of these asset classes a legal tender, that's really up to your central bank and your government. And it's probably a subject that I would stay away from. But I would strongly advise those to look at what El Salvador is doing and why they have done it, specifically why they have done what they have done. And in my personal opinion, I don't think it's a bad approach for small island developing states and developing nations to turn towards these types of asset classes to make them a legal tender. But again, should Jamaica do it, it's not an opinion that I'm willing to give on this call.
All right, thank you very much. Handing back over to Victoria.
Okay, so as you said, cryptocurrency, it's been around for 11 years, and you said it should be really well known. So as it's being developed, what do you think the future looks like for cryptocurrency and blockchain technology?
Bright, very bright. I think it's going to be as commonplace as the internet, in that everything that you can look at, touch, or feel is going to be represented by some form of blockchain asset. You know, just in the last 2 years, we've had another field of blockchain come about called NFTs, non-fungible tokens. And that is where art, talent, and creatives have now entered the space. 3-4 years ago, we had the boom of ICOs, initial coin offerings, and security token offerings. And that's when the securities market entered the industry. Just in the last 3 years, we've seen central bank digital currencies pick up, where central banks are now opting to use this technology, not Jamaicans. The Jamaica Central Bank did not go towards blockchain technology, which, by the way, I think is very unwise. But my opinion on this is that blockchain is going to be everywhere. It is an incredible technological innovation that solves some of the major problems around centralized trust. And what the internet did to communication, blockchain is going to do to economics.
Okay, back to you, Sebastian.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Ambassador Abed, could you please expound on the link between cryptocurrency and blockchain technology that has sort of caused them to be recognized almost synonymously with each other?
They are synonymous, and anyone who says they're not doesn't understand the technology. In order to have a blockchain, you need to have some sort of consensus-driven algorithm. And behind that consensus-driven algorithm, there is a token event. That token event is a cryptographic token, and the two are one and the same. I'm not quite sure how to further describe that. It's like asking, is water wet?
All right, thank you very much. Handing back over to Victoria.
Okay, could you please explain the concept of mining cryptocurrency? Is it a profitable endeavor?
How do I say this simply? Mining cryptocurrencies, again, a very basic concept of where you are applying computing power to try to solve a mathematical problem, and you're competing with others to solve that problem. And this is part of the security mechanism of what makes proof of work blockchains so secure, like Bitcoin. It's an event where you're running a computer program and using your computing power in an attempt to solve an equation, and that equation changes in a certain interval with more computing power joining the network. In doing this, you can guarantee the integrity of the network and the security of it through that level of computing power, hence the word proof of work. There's others that do a way better job of explaining it from a layman terms, and I probably wouldn't be the best one because of how I understand it. But again, mining is a concept very much like how you would go into a gold mine or a copper mine and attempt to apply work by digging into this mine to find copper. It's a similar concept where you're applying a computer or the digger, if you will, to try to find Bitcoin. And in the attempt to do that, you're providing security to the network. In doing this proof of work, you're providing a level of energy consumption and computing power to help secure the network. And in securing the network, you're rewarded Bitcoin for that work.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much, Sebastian.
All right, thank you very much. Early on in the discussion, we were talking about NFTs and how people within the entertainment sector are using it more. Do you believe that NFTs could play a key part in the tourism sector and other sectors within the Caribbean region going forward? And how can governments possibly mobilize NFTs to, help in these sectors?
Absolutely. When we think about e-tourism, displaying our dance, our culture, our arts, our crafts, NFTs are a great way to provide an immersive feel towards that. If you look at the artist Anya A. Young Chi out of Trinidad and Tobago, she's designing NFT carnival costumes right now, wearable carnival costumes that you can see in the metaverse or in 3D format. So from an e-tourism perspective, being able to give someone an experience from abroad whereby they're fully immersed in a virtual environment that very much replicates our real environment. Being able to see live music and dance in a way that's more than a 2D screen in front of us. Governments should absolutely be looking at this field. We don't know what it's going to look like in 5 years, but what we do know is that it's trending so much that 1/3 of US kids right now are playing in the metaverse called Roblox. And if we're not prepared for that future and we wait for it to become the norm, then we're losing out. So it would be very advisable for governments to start paying attention to this.
Thank you very much. Handing back over to Victoria.
Okay, so taking a question from one of our club members in the chat, Camille, he's asking, what is the perspective on the future impact of crypto mining on the environment? Also, do you believe it will be discouraged in a climate conscious world?
What was the last part?
Do you believe that mining cryptocurrency will be discouraged in a climate conscious world?
No, I don't believe mining cryptocurrencies. It's not how we use the energy, it's where we source the energy from. Majority of cryptocurrency mining comes from clean energy resources. If you go look at most of the mining happening right now, it's out of hydro dams, solar farms. Right now in El Salvador, they're using geothermal energy from volcanic activity. In the Caribbean, we have serious potential from wind, solar, sea, and geothermal to potentially do this. Furthermore, I would state again, the issue is not how we use energy, it's where energy is derived from. The issue is not cryptocurrency, the issue is those that are producing energy, those that are continuously using flare gas and fossil fuels and coal. That's the issue. It's not how it's being used, it's where it's being derived from. Furthermore, being able to offset clean energy projects is a very important subject. Bitcoin mining allows you to go to areas. Let's talk about St. Lucia, for example. St. Lucia right now has the potential to produce 200 megawatts of power. That 200 megawatts can power the entire OECS, okay? Sorry, not the entire OECS. It can provide definitely enough power for St. Lucia and other islands. There's enough geothermal energy across the Caribbean region to provide the entire region with energy. The problem is, if you were to go and look at something like St. Lucia and setting up a geothermal facility, the cost to set that up would be in the 10 to 50 million US dollars. And the ability to have a return on investment via consumption, meaning what's the maximum capacity and load that this geothermal facility can power at to power all the homes in that area of St. Lucia. It just quite simply would not add up. You'd be powering a 10 megawatt facility and it would only be running at 10% optimization. you can add Bitcoin mining to that to ensure that facility runs at 100% capacity, thereby turning this sunken cost from the people of St. Lucia into an advantage to the people of St. Lucia. And what I mean by that is, if it costs me a 30-year debt product to finance this geo facility, with Bitcoin mining, I could reduce that to 5 to 10 years. It actually becomes the great differentiator of offsetting losses in the energy field. So the big FUD, or fair uncertainty and doubt, that you hear around Bitcoin mining is from those that usually A, don't understand, B, haven't cared to look at where Bitcoin mining derives its energy from, or C, really aren't looking at the real problem. And again, the real problem that we face on a global scale is how we are producing energy.
Okay, very insightful. Thank you so much. Malik, you have a question?
Okay, so Mr. Ambassador, I would like to just get your thoughts on countries blocking cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. What are your thoughts on that?
Irresponsible, extremely irresponsible. They're blocking their citizens from participating in the most disruptive technology. Imagine Jamaica telling you in 1990, we're blocking the internet because this thing offers bad things online. Like that kind of logic doesn't make much sense. The nations, like, if you look at like China that are banning Bitcoin, they're trying to push their own central bank currency, the DCEP, and because they're trying to be in a position of control. So it's not extremely advisable. It's very unwise. It could do a lot of damage for their entrepreneurial businesses. It could do, we don't know where this technology is really going to go. But what we do know is that it has created so many jobs, so many opportunities. It's created so many new millionaires and billionaires. Mm-hmm. It's been the greatest wealth disruptor that we've seen in the last 100 years. And for you to ban that and ban your citizens from participation, it's just silly. It's incredibly silly.
Okay, so just for a follow-up question to that, what do you think will happen to people in those countries 20 years down the line since crypto is banned, and they keep it banned for like the next 2 decades or the next decade in the future? What would they miss out on really?
GDP growth, economic opportunities, jobs, skills, talent, an educated populace on the topic. The next generation of businesses being hosted in their nation are being built from there. Imagine if America did that with internet. There would be no Facebook, Netflix, Amazon, Google coming out of America. That might have come out of India or Germany, but America was front and center pushing the internet the hardest. And for a nation to do something as irresponsible as banning Bitcoin means that they're sending their people back to the Stone Ages. So what does their 20-year horizon look like? One that's very much held back.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Abed, we thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. We know that the time difference between the UAE and the Caribbean is really big, but thanks for sharing your insight. And the quote that, well, let me not say quote, but the idea that stood out to me the most was that what the internet did to communication, blockchain will do to economics. So on behalf of the Young Investors Club and League of Future Economists, a big thank you from the Caribbean.
You're welcome, team. And guys, if I could end this with saying a couple of key things. Do your own homework. Go and research why some of the brightest minds in the world are getting behind this technology. Why did Jack Dorsey just leave Twitter to go and focus on a blockchain company fully? Why is this occurring with some of the smartest individuals across the globe? And go and try to answer that for yourself. Read Satoshi Nakamoto's paper. Go buy yourself $5 or $10 worth of Bitcoin. Experiment with it. Look into NFTs. Look into decentralized finance or DeFi. Look into these various areas. And more importantly, look at how they can apply to our region. look at what we could build for our people. You know, when we think about how hard it is to get a bank account or a bank mortgage or a loan, start looking at DeFi and see what happens for the Caribbean people if we start pushing these products and building localized or regional solutions against this technology. It's really important. You know, you guys are the next generation or the future army that is expected to deliver results for our people. So really go out there. What's a safe platform to buy Bitcoin on? Coinbase, Kraken, Binance.com. Those are 3 top platforms that you should look at. With that being said, team, have a great morning. For myself, it's 7:30 p.m., so I'm gonna have a great night. I hope you guys really take this subject seriously. I hope you take it on from a position of realizing that this is the ultimate future for us, and start exploring how you can build DAOs, one of my favorite subjects. Javon, did I pronounce your name right? Decentralized autonomous organizations.
Yes.
Sorry.
I was asking about that.
The thought of a DAO is incredible. The idea that there is a non-hierarchical governance around a specific area of control is beautiful. DAOs are to me the next generation of how we are going to be governing each other, and possibly even how we govern our own countries. I see a future where governments are not hierarchical based, but DAO based. But that's, again, just my opinion. Are we good?
Yes, we are. Thank you so much again, Ambassador Abed, for sharing your time with us and your knowledge on cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin and overall blockchain technologies. And I'm confident that a lot of us will be researching it more and getting into it just as common as the internet is, as you said, and adding this for portfolio and generating wealth from it. So thank you so much for taking your time to share this with us, and we really appreciate it. And we wish you a great day too, a great night.
Bye, everyone. Take care.
All right. Have a good night.
All right, take care. Okay, guys, so for everyone else here, Jason has a few more sources that he wants to share where you can read up on it. So if you're interested, you can stay back a bit for that.
All right. Hey guys, morning. If you're in the Caribbean, which I assume most of us are, or, you know, Eastern Seaboard, US, Canada. Okay, so you may have heard a lot of terms that you may be unfamiliar with. You may have heard of them and not really, you know, be too clear on what they are, like blockchain. So I'm not here to bust ears today. I'm here to share some stuff with you so that you can go and look at them. I'm going to send them in the chat, and, you know, the Zoom chat disappears when we're done. So yeah, save these links if you'd like, and hopefully I can send in the WhatsApp group as well. For LOFE, I can pass them to Sebastian, and then he can probably share with you. So the first one is this paper. This is probably going to be a bit dense, but this is that Japanese name sounding guy's paper. What's his name? Satoshi Nakamoto's paper. So that's what Ambassador Abed was talking about. That's what he said to do your homework in. It might be a deep dive if you don't have much of a math, computing, econ, finance background, but it's there for everybody to read. If you have an issue understanding, you can always look up more information. Next one is to explain the econ side. So most of us here would be familiar with the properties of money, that it needs to be divisible, right? You want to be able to buy a house and buy a sweetie with the same currency, right? So if you have a big block of gold to buy a house with, how are you going to divide that up to buy, I don't know, a large number of sweets or whatever? Money needs to be durable, store value, so that inflation, right? Those of you who come to YIC hear me talk about inflation all the time, so that those stuff don't really erode the value of your savings. Bitcoin is inflation proof, right? Because you can't print more Bitcoin. When you mine Bitcoin, they already know how much is the limit, so it's inflation proof. This podcast kind of interview is with Robert Breedlove, who we were actually hoping if we could get here today as well, but that didn't work out. He's in the US and he is an accounting econ background. So he's explaining that big Bitcoin enthusiast, and he explains it in layman's terms. And for the more math and computing side of how all this blockchain works, blockchain doesn't only work with crypto. We heard it coming out in NFTs and other stuff like that. See a video here by 3 Blue 1 Brown. Is that his name? 3 Blue 1 Brown, yeah. He is a Stanford physics major who explains math concepts in a really relatable, animated way, draws like smiley faces on them and stuff. So those are some deep dives here to understand how Bitcoin started, and then all the cryptos kind of diverge from Bitcoin, the econ side of it, and then the math and computing side of it. So I hope you guys, if you check those out, you'd have a better understanding.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any questions that maybe I or one of us could answer, like something that you were shaky on?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, go ahead.
So, my main concern is the volatility of these cryptocurrencies. So, you know, one day there could be, let's say Bitcoin, for example, one day could be 60,000, next day could be 30,000.
Right.
So from a business perspective, let's say I run a business and I purchase my goods, let's say, when Bitcoin is at 60,000. When the value of that cryptocurrency drops, wouldn't that affect my inflow of revenues or, you know, stuff like that? That's where I'm a bit confused, you know? So
if you say it's affecting your income flow, you're saying on the premise that you're doing business in crypto and you need to convert to a non-cryptocurrency, you're concerned with the volatility that might have. Am I understanding you right?
Yeah, definitely.
So I don't know if anybody else wants to take this, but my take on it is, because we're in the initial stages right now, it will be volatile. Like, that just will happen. The reason being, and this sounds kind of metaphysical, but it's not ingrained into the narrative of society the way the internet is now. When the internet was coming about, you had the dot-com bubble, like you looked at those stocks being volatile, and it's even more now because you have more liquidity with, you know, for many reasons, and way more people playing in the market. So you're going to have lots of opinions going up and down. Well, more liquidity, typical, it doesn't, but more people can move more money is what I'm saying. So all of these people getting into crypto, moving in different sentiments. If you go on Bitcoin's site, you will see that they expect the volatility to taper off eventually when it becomes more mainstream. And I believe it will become more mainstream. And people who know a lot more about this than I do believe it will come more mainstream. So for the long term, I don't think that's really a concern. For the short term, what most are recommended to do is definitely not put your life savings in crypto, definitely not go all in. But if it is that you have crypto and you can hold, you know, just like in Jamaica, we use US dollars, like, okay, I'm not necessarily going to convert it. I'm going to keep it there, and only if I really need to convert it. And that would kind of decrease the volatility for you. So that's what I said. This isn't financial advice, by the way. This is just me trying to share my understanding. That clears it up for you?
Or just to add as well, and I think Ambassador Abed was touching on it in his presentation as well. When you're looking at, you know, the earnings or losses that you're going to make from Bitcoin, you can't look at it just like in a small piece of time. You have to look at the bigger picture. Just as you can lose a lot of money in one day because of the volatility of Bitcoin, you can gain a lot of money in one day as well. It really just depends on your risk appetite in terms of business. And as Jason was saying, you can't just go in and invest. Well, you can, but you shouldn't go in and invest all your funds into it, because that would just be a really, really unwise decision that you can, you know, lose a lot of money from. So really, it just is analyzing the market, just like how any Forex investor or any stock market investor would analyze the market, analyze the fundamentals and whatever it is, and then just make a informed decision as to when to actually invest your money into the cryptocurrency, and doing so to maximize the revenues that you make from it.
And I guess something else to add quickly. Are you guys hearing me, by the way?
Yes, Matthew, I'm hearing you.
Yeah, a lot of people, like when they're looking at volatile assets, like if you look in a short time frame, it might appear to be very volatile. So what a lot of people say is to zoom out, and I'm pretty sure Ambassador Abed said this. And when you like look at a chart or a graph showing like a much longer time frame, you tend to see like a clear trend. So it might be trending upwards, but it might drop a lot and go up a lot, but it's overall going upwards or going downwards or whatever. So yeah, that's another point he was making.
I'm seeing a question from Anthony in the chat. Isn't Bitcoin extremely expensive even to start? Well, it depends on what you mean by expensive. Is it a lot for the average person to buy?
I would say it's expensive for the average person, but you don't have to buy one Bitcoin. You can just buy it like fractional wise. So you could buy like 0.00010 of a Bitcoin or like $1,000 worth of a Bitcoin. So you don't have to buy one. And I think that goes for most cryptocurrencies.
And that's the thing where the divisibility of money comes into place, right? So you're not depending on any central bank to print Jamaican 10 cent or something that's a tiny division or whatever. So you can electronically divide Bitcoin as tiny as you want it to be. And this is something you'd see coming out in the Robert Breedlove video. So that's the philosophy and econ behind Bitcoin, the first YouTube video or second link that I sent, where we think about inflation, but as technology improves, things should be getting cheaper over time. So how is it that you're going to do a currency that accounts for that? You make it infinitely divisible and numbers never end, so you can always cut it up digitally. Let's jump to Khalil. I always worry with the decentralization, governments may come together to destroy it. Yeah, probably, likely. That's actually very likely to happen, in my opinion.
They're gonna try and regulate it because, like the ambassador said, that's the reason why China is even blocking crypto. I didn't think he was gonna call the country's name, but the reason why they're blocking crypto is because they want people to use their CBDCs instead, and it also brings in like security and how much control the government might have over them. But let's not get into that. Well, yeah, I don't know if. I think it would be hard for them to do that, but yeah, they'll definitely try. So,
like you said that while I was drinking and I nearly spit coffee on my okay, but yeah, so we. Oh wait, what do you think?
Usually in an economy, the central bank has supply. So, if a decentralized or monetary tender, naturally the central bank is going to be against it because they aren't going to be able to control inflation. They aren't going to be able to control it, such stuff like that, So I think naturally there is going to be some opposition towards cryptocurrency, but like you said, in the early stages of the internet, there are oppositions towards the internet and stuff like that. But I think as time go along, people will be sensitized to, just adapt to the change.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And central banking allows governments to do a lot of things that if other people did them, then they'd get arrested. So I know that that's getting really controversial here, but yeah, you do make a good point. It really takes away a lot of their control. We have a question from Shania or Shania, hope I'm not butchering your name, which is the best platform to purchase cryptocurrency in Jamaica because I'm having issues setting up an account. I've actually been trying to figure that out myself. I know Ambassador Abed said some stuff about Unitrade. Was it Unitrade? Uniswap?
Yes,
Uniswap.
I think you said Binance,
Coinbase,
Kraken, and Coinbase. Yeah.
Right.
I've heard a lot of Jamaicans use Binance, I think.
I've heard of it before, yeah.
Yeah. For Coinbase,
okay, we have any other question, guys?
More KYC stuff.
Right. Yeah, KYC is so annoying. Well, I guess it serves its purpose. But
yeah.
It holds up a lot of processes. Any other comments, stuff that you found interesting, stuff that you didn't know before we close off? Because I know that crypto isn't something that we discuss a whole lot in mainstream Jamaican circles or even in this club. So if you want to share anything or voice anything or ask anything, I'm no expert and I don't know if anyone else here is, but maybe we can knock heads and get better insight.
I don't have a question, but
always a problem.
Oh, I don't really have a question, but I wrote a few months ago, I wrote like an article on CBDCs and what's going on in the crypto space and stuff like that. So that's supposed to come out one of these days. I don't know, like probably in a few weeks. So I'll have an article on CBDCs with research that I'll send in the group when it releases in the future.
Awesome. Love that. I mean, I was so shook about because we saw governor of the BOJ say, "Oh, we're not going to use blockchain," and then what? Abed said two things. Well, I said it was shaky, but he said what? Not irresponsible.
I think he said it's not it's irresponsible and unwise.
Irresponsible was for blocking the blockchain. I mean, Jamaica wasn't saying that they'd block it. They just said that they wouldn't be adopting it as legal. I think he said it was unwise. Which I agree with, because if you're not using blockchain, what's the point? What's the point? Just use digital Jamaican dollars in that case. You already have control over that.
I will personally stick to my physical cash and normal methods of payment.
Right. That's crazy. I don't know if WePay is going to jump on this. You guys know about WePay, right? They're way bigger in Trinidad and much of the Eastern Caribbean than Jamaica, but they're here a bit. The CEO just visited Jamaica actually. So
yeah. I think they have a country headquarters. They have a country location, I think already. So. Yeah. And
I don't know if they'd be jumping on something similar.
Well, remember we did actually get in contact with the CEO of WePay, so maybe we can get him for next year to answer some of those questions.
True.
That would be cool. Not that they need to, because Bitcoin, you can transfer money. So guys, an example of Bitcoin being inflation proof. You know that Venezuela has hyperinflation for many reasons that we're not going to get into, like really bad. So prices are doubling like in really short periods of time. Really short. And how is it that these people are going to buy US dollars to escape the country, right? Because they need to escape the country. They buy Bitcoin. And then there's no government that's controlling foreign exchange stuff. You just get Bitcoin in Venezuela, somebody puts in your account, and then you can spend that anywhere in the world that you escape. I was watching this Netflix series, and that started in 2016. And it was saying that one of the premises, because they were pushing crypto, they were saying, look at how many people barely can afford food to eat. But by 2020, which is, like last year, almost all those people will have a cell phone. This is all you need to use crypto and like the power and the internet and stuff. So it's really interesting. And especially if you feel the effects of inflation, which being Jamaican, most of us here then yeah, you just find this whole thing about being secure and inflation proof just gorgeous and decentralized, because a lot of the inflation comes from the fact that the currency is centralized. I know that's a controversial statement to me, but I believe it to be true 100%. I should probably.
All right, I think that's it, Jason. I don't see anybody else going into asking any more questions. But Khalil, I know that the central bank is planning to actually make our CBDC operational, like I think next spring, so spring 2022. So yeah, I think that's it, guys.
Yeah, guys. Thank you for coming to the meeting. I'm sure we'll try to get some more resources for you guys for cryptocurrency for next semester. We'll really try our best to incorporate it more into our regular, meetings. So thank you for coming to this last meeting. I know some of you guys have exams. It's really good to see you guys come out. So have a good time with your exams. Do well, study up, all of those things, and we'll see you guys next semester.
Also, before we go, for all the people from League of Future Economists that would have attended this meeting, just want to say, yes, this is our final meeting of the semester as well. And see you next semester. All the best in your exams. And yeah, good luck.
Adios.
Thank you everyone for coming out. Thank you for an awesome semester. We've really grown a lot and we've had some great meetings. So go and crush those exams and continue investing. It never stops. So have a great week, guys. Bye.
I just did a peace sign. That was so embarrassing.